Welcome to Wawne Parish Council meeting, 2nd of July at just gone 7 o'clock, and we'll make a start if that's okay. So shall we go down to 1, which is declarations of interest, please?
Okay.
Anybody got any declarations?
Just from me on finance.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nope.
Nope.
Christine?
No.
No. Okay. Anybody else? No. We move on. Oh, strangely, number 2, open forum. I don't think we're going to go down that road, are we? No.
Have you had any questions, Anne?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Professional as ever, Jacob. Is laughing now. Number 3, minutes. To consider the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, the 4th of June, previously circulated. Have we all read the minutes and can we agree them, please?
Yeah, I'll propose them as fine.
I'll second them.
Andrew seconded.
I can't because I wasn't there.
Oh, I can then. Oh,
Good.
Well then,
Thank you,
all
Chris.
right. So we'll pass those if that's okay with everybody else.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now we move on to number 4, finance and compliance. Quarterly review for period 1st of April to the 30th of June. And these figures have been circulated prior to the meeting. And B, the approval of the monthly spend, which is more or less as per normal, I
Yeah.
would imagine.
Yeah.
So can we have a first and a second, please?
Yeah. I'll propose that they be accepted.
And I'll second it.
Right, so we've passed those, Anne, okay? Is that okay, Anne? Is that okay, Anne?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. Right, to approve the number 5, to approve the audit. Okay. And we've all read about that, yes?
Yeah, I haven't got any issues with that.
No, we
You've
neither.
not, it's just disappeared for the time being. What about you, Christine?
No, I haven't got any issues.
Pauline?
No, I
haven't got any. No.
No.
Can I just clarify how, Anne, does the chair need to sign it?
I
Yeah.
have already done so.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering how it was going to be done, as long as it was done in a safe,
I've already
COVID secure
endorsed
manner.
it. Yeah. Do you agree with the audit procedure?
Yes.
Yes. Andrew is saying yes to that.
Okay,
So
good.
that's all passed, Anne.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right, we're moving on to number 6 now. Number 1, ash tree remove of due to tree being heavily one-sided with large limbs growing out of the garden and leaning towards the property. Concerns for ivy around the tree, adding weight and showing signs of ash dieback. This is 5 cedar close, works to protected tree. I do know from my own experience that ash is very fractious,
Yeah.
and it is quite dangerous in a domestic situation near people, etc. houses. So can we please go round and get everybody's reaction to this, please? If I may, I'll start with Andrew because he's here. So Andrew.
Well, I think we need to look at it. If it's heavily coated in ivy, then all the ivy needs to be done is cut off at the bottom, as indeed I've done on some of our trees.
But ash is fractious, bear in mind.
I know it is. But has it actually got ash dieback? I think basically we ought to have a look, all of us. For me, it's easy because we're only going around the corner. But I don't know about anybody else. Just have a quick look, check it out. If it looks bad, well, I don't see there's a problem. But I just think it'd be nice just to
have a quick
check it
look.
out.
Right, Steve, can I move on to you, please?
I thought that the approval, whether we agree or not, will come from the man from the East Riding Council.
Probably.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. However, obviously, we've got the approval in front of us. We need to say yea or nay? What do you feel about it?
I think the couple would have only applied if they were really concerned about it. So I say we can set up a town to have a walk around ourselves. Do we know when the East Riding man's going?
No, well, not that I'm aware of. Anne might be, but
No.
no, she
Okay.
doesn't.
No, I've got no issues.
Okay. Jacob, can I move on to you, please?
I mean, I can't see any issues with it in the sense that if it does need chopping down, and I imagine most people don't apply for these things, like Steve has said, without real reason to do so, then I can't see why we shouldn't approve the works to the tree.
All right. Can I move on to Christine, please?
Yes, I've no problem with it. I'm not enough of an expert on trees to really say anything other than visual if I looked at it.
Okay. Pauline, please.
I think if it's dangerous, it needs to come down, and I suppose that's not really it's not up to us really, is it? It's up to an expert really.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree. So can we take it that we are not in a situation really to say no, and we should approve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As actually it's very fractious, I have to say.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Approved,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's carried then, please, Anne.
Yeah.
Will you say that we approve?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Erection of a single-storey extension to side. It's a revised planning reference to 10 Church Crescent. And we approved that November 19.
Yeah.
Do
Was
we
this-
know?
Is this the one that was in the bungalow, Steve?
Yes, they're all in the bungalow.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one in the bungalow that we didn't, that I think yourself wasn't keen on approving because it would make the size of the property bigger and the price more. Yeah. Okay.
Pauline was for
And
it.
I,
That was
Steve,
Church Road, wasn't it?
Well,
wasn't it
Pauline
on
was
Church?
for it. Yeah.
and I backed Steve up on that at the time as well.
Yeah. And Beverly approved it with a revised plan, and now the couple wants a slight change again. We've now got, this is the fourth house among the bungalows that is.
You bugger off. Not you, Steve, the cat.
This is the fourth house among the bungalows that will shortly disappear.
Yes.
And so the village keep trying to fight the loss of these bungalows, but like we did with the precedents down Church Road itself, properties have already got it. So I don't know how we can object to it. No.
I agree.
Yeah,
Right.
we've lost it.
However, let's just go through the protocol.
Yeah.
I'll start with Andrew if I may.
Yeah.
Andrew.
For the same reasons as Steve said, not approved.
Yeah.
Okay, but we cannot not approve
No,
it
I know.
because
So no, we can still make our point with Beverly. So
Points.
for me,
Okay.
I would say no.
Okay. Can we move on to Jacob, please?
I'll abstain from this one if I may.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
What about Christine?
Well, I'm not in favour of it, but that's because I'm looking at the bungalow, what is being extended already round the corner to me, and the extension is bigger than the bungalow.
Yes. Yeah, they all are.
Yeah. May we move on to Pauline, please?
I'm all right with it. If it's been passed, it's been passed.
Okay. So really, we can't really object to it, but we can put something in there that says that although we don't object, we're not particularly happy with the loss of the true bungalow
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the village. Yeah.
Yes.
Is everyone happy with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you'll embellish that in your usual way. Okay. Okay. Right. Let's have another look down here. We've got a decision. Change of use of an existing agricultural building to car service MOT workshop. I think we said we didn't have a problem with that, and it's been approved by the look of it.
Yeah.
We've had an advert from him as well for the Gazette when it starts to reprint.
All right. Well, we didn't have a problem
No.
with it, and it's all gone through.
Father,
It'd be advantageous to the village anyway to have something close.
yeah,
by.
Only down the road.
his father
yeah.
broke his back on a push bike accident, and the boy's trying to keep the farm alive by introducing the MOT station.
Mm.
Well,
Brilliant then.
there's
Brilliant.
no problem with that, is there?
No.
Okay. Right, number 7, right of ways including riverbank. Does anybody know about this?
Right, I'll start on my bit, Steve, and then you want to come in with your bit.
Okay.
So I was emailed by a resident,
Yeah.
probably in both parish and ward councillor capacity, about having more footpaths and more cycle paths. This has come on the back of everybody cycling and walking more, and the government announcing the emergency £2 billion or whatever it is funding for cycle paths.
Right.
The first suggestion was that Mewkes Road be made easier and safer for cyclists and footpaths and foot pedestrians to walk down to
Yeah.
get to Beverley, so you can get to Routh, cross the road, walk up to Beverley.
Yeah.
The second suggestion was that we improved access along the riverbank to get to Wheel and onto Ticton.
Yeah.
Obviously, at the moment, it's fairly easy to do on foot because you can get over the gates, but there
Yeah.
are some gates along there which are locked. So if you're
That's
on
correct.
a bike, if you've
Yeah.
not got a bike like mine that's fairly light, or you can't lift a bike, you struggle.
Yeah.
So I did point out that a lot of the land along the riverbank is privately owned, i.e. where the
Yeah.
horses are, that's owned by the landowner at the end.
Yeah.
And he has the right to put a gate on there and lock that gate. That's as long as they can get along by foot, because it is a footpath, it's not a cycle path at the moment. As long as they get on by foot, yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
I passed it on to Anne, so Anne could maybe do some investigating from the parish council side as to whether he's riding a look to do anything before I
Yeah.
get involved and pull a few strings, if that makes sense. As I don't want, I'd rather the parish council try and do something first, and then if we get stuck, I'll try and do something. I did say the likelihood of getting anything down Mewkes Road is very slim, but I did also point out that it is not perfectly safe, but it is safe to cycle down. That's one of my cycle routes all the time. I cycle up towards Routh and down through Ticton and Scaler and all that way. So I managed to do it. I know I'm a young, sprightly cyclist, but it's not unsafe as long as you wear the right gear and you respect the road users. And most road users respect you. There are one or two that don't, but that's the way of the world. As for the riverbank, I can't see a cycle path being introduced along there, to be fair.
No.
But there is, if you're wanting to go to Wheel, there is a cycle path down Drove Lane out the back of Carhouse Farm through the fields that comes out at the back of Wheel.
Yeah.
And I know people have cycled that in the past.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'll pass it on to Andrew because he's here first. What's your thoughts?
Well, it'd be nice to see cycle paths along Mewkes Road and everywhere else. Whether we can actually ever finance it or the council will finance it, I don't know. And I think probably what we've got is about all we're going to get. But who knows, you know? I mean, suddenly the parish council might get £55 million worth of funding from East Riding. I don't think that's never going to happen. but I think we've probably got to live with what we've got at the moment. But, you know, I mean, if somebody thinks something better, I'm quite happy to go with other people's views.
Right, can I move on to Steve then, please?
The concern for me was that we mustn't just do a knee-jerk reaction when one person writes to us and says they want a cycle path. I know we've got to listen, but I think what we've got the opportunity to do the next time we push a magazine out is to put some form of, would you be interested? Then if it's 2 or 3 people, we're wasting our time, we're wasting the government's money, wasting our money. If we get an upsurge and 3/4 of the village want to suddenly be a cycle route down there, then yes, we could investigate it further. And I think the only action that I would propose is to put it in the next magazine and see how many others in the village are interested. Because to pass it to someone that isn't actually going to have a bike anyway, and her husband are only going to walk it, just seems ridiculous. And we will not change the riverbank. She does not understand our powers. It's not owned by us. It's owned by the Rivers Authority. If they don't want to extend their gates, there's nothing we can do.
No, true. Okay. Jacob, because you've already spoken, I propose to move on to Christine, please.
Yes, I agree with what Steve said. Because of the fact we need to put it into the magazine, we can't go down this road for one, even half a dozen people.
No.
It's got to be, well, because of the cost implications, we've got to look at that first.
Absolutely. Pauline, can we have your views, please?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what's been said. I think if anything, the road needs widening, not as much cycle paths. You know, the potholes filled in, for instance. But yeah.
Absolutely. So, can we, Jacob? Can we please put it in the magazine for the next time?
I mean,
I know.
When we get round to reprinting it again, I'll put it in the Gazette.
I know, love. I know things are very, very difficult at the moment, but I know you're doing your best. All right.
Can I just, Steve, was there something else on the footpath you wanted to mention about the other one?
That's a specific agenda item. Want to do that one?
Is it? Oh, is that the next one? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the next one, dear.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So
we nothing else
now,
from me then.
Okay. We are now moving on to footpaths, and is this you, Steve?
No, this is Mr. Councillor Birch, who's been absolutely marvellous. I have to kiss him if I can do. We've got information from the East Riding that all the hard work that we've done, lobbying them and meeting with them, all the efforts that we've put in, we are going to get a footpath all the way from the village, all the way to the recreation ground.
Wow!
It's going to be all on the right. Wow. Going to be on the right-hand side of the road. We'll come all the way past Yates's. You won't have to cross over the road, the dangerous corner. It will go all the way around the bend. We might have a bit of an objection when it gets out there from Mr. Shipley because it runs in front of his property. And I'm sure that he won't want people walking past his property, but it's got to be safer from the village's perspective.
Yeah,
absolutely. Can I move on to Andrew only because he's here?
Can I make a round of applause for everybody?
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done, everybody.
Absolutely.
Is there a time frame for building it?
Pardon?
Have they given you an approximate date for when
yes,
they would
do it? It will be done this calendar year. We'll be completed October, November this year.
Brilliant.
The hope is that it will be completed October, November, because that's when the larger Decorus site, Pimhouse Crescent, hope they'll be finishing. So they don't want to build a path and then have it turfed up by lorries.
No, quite so.
I would put the caveat that if there's a delay with the Decorus site finishing, there may be a delay with the path starting. But they're also going to, because the path is going to be a proper 1.2 metre wide path, they're also going to widen the road at the opposite side where the potholes are and where that rural footpath was.
Yeah.
So they're going to do that as well.
That's
brilliant.
That's really good.
That's great. That's great. I'll move on to Pauline if I may.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, happy. Really happy.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
That's one of the best bits of news we've had so far for a long time, haven't we?
I think it'll also help with our application for the commuted sums as well.
Absolutely, I agree with you. That is great. That is great. A vote of thanks from the chair to the committee.
I think Steve wants to say something.
Go, Steve.
Right, now then, it is good news. It's great news. How do we tell the village? Do we authorise a special flyer where everybody in the village gets to know of the hard work that we put in and the success that we've had? This needs a real round of applause or trumpets or whatever. How do we let people know? I don't want to get to October and it suddenly be there. We've got to let people know that we exist, what we do. This is the real pat on the back for the effort that we put in every blooming Thursday for years and years. So I would like a new.
I absolutely can I put it to the vote how the rest of the parish council would like to acknowledge this. Any ideas? I'll go to Andrew first because he's here. I'll
go with Steve because I think a flyer will be a good way to do it.
Okay, so you're happy with the flyer, Steve?
Yes.
Would you want it putting in the Gazette as well when it comes out?
That's no worry. I don't know when the Gazette's going to
be.
And to give everybody now to give the people on the recreation subcommittee a wow. We're heading there.
Absolutely.
We talk and talk and talk, and this is good news, positive
It
news.
is good news,
Yeah,
very good news.
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
I'll move on to Jacob, if I may. How do you feel about this, Jacob? What would you like to do?
I think definitely a flyer and a press release to try and get some local coverage and what have you. But I think we can also put on the same two-sided A4 leaflet, whatever it is, about the asking about, we've built a footpath, we've had a footpath built, it's going to be done, but do you think there should be any other more footpaths or right-of-ways or cycle paths in the village, linking to item 7 on our
Absolutely.
agenda?
Yeah.
Good idea.
It's a great idea.
Good idea.
Can I move on to Christine, please?
Yeah, I agree with the flyer and putting something in the post office as well.
Yeah.
The
Good
window.
idea. Good
Yeah.
idea.
Good idea. Pauline, please.
Yeah, and the community board outside the parish council, you could put it there because people do stop and read that, don't they?
Yes, they do.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's good time to canvass people about the other paths as well, what Jacob said.
Yeah, that is a great idea. Can we organise something, please, Anne?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
me
okay with
and Steve
that?
have already sort of started something, but we'll
That is brilliant.
we'll
Thank
back it
you.
and forward,
Thank you.
yeah.
You too. That's great. Thank you so much. Right, can we move on to number 9, please? Traffic controlling, speed calming. I believe that this probably would be best hosted by Steve for the time being.
Yeah, no problem. So met the guy, Tony Kirby, did a tour of the village. I've got the interim report, which has his suggestion of a mini roundabout at the T
Yep.
junction of the village, and then 8 speed bumps along Muse Road.
Right,
That would cost us £35,000.
right.
Now, we haven't got £35,000.
No, we don't.
No.
Yeah.
So I've written back to him and I said, can you tell us if we can do this in 1 or 2 phases, like
Yeah.
the mini roundabout first,
Yeah.
for a couple of years, save some more money, and then when Jacob speaks, I think he might talk about alternative sources of funding.
Absolutely.
So to me, it was just like, how do we now tell the village this is what we do, or do we just go ahead and do it? Do we consult with the village and say this is what we're proposing to spend your money on? The issue is all around the funding. If we can get the funding fairly quickly, we could
Yeah.
go ahead with it in 1 tranche rather than splitting it up into 2 or 3.
Okay.
If we can't get the money quickly, he is suggesting that we make the Muse Sutton Road up to 30 again, rather than keeping it at 20. Although that sounds like a bad thing because it's a speed increase, having it at 30 would allow us to put the speed patrols in and have the gun and have people prosecuted, which we're not allowed to do at the moment while it's 20. So there might be a short-term gain of having it go up to 30, then put the roundabout in, slow traffic down, then get the money, then put the speed bumps in.
Right. Okay.
It's all about funding.
Yes, it is all about funding. Right. I'll move on to Andrew, if I may, because he's here first.
Well, I think that makes perfect sense, Steve. Even the 30 thing makes sense to me, although I'm not a great lover, because even today I've seen 2 idiots racing in Subarus down Mute Road, probably about 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, they're all mad because they're going to hit a child or an old person or an animal. But I think we've just got to try and bite the bullet and make it safer for the residents, one way or the other, including old codgers like me when I cross the road.
Thank you, Andrew. May I move on to Jacob, please?
As Steve said, I was sceptical about spending 1,200 quid or whatever it was to speak to a guy about some traffic improvements, as you know.
Yeah.
It's happened, whatever. 35 grand in the great scheme of things doesn't seem an awful lot of money. It's more than we get in precept a year, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But we have £10,000 in our savings all at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which means we only have £25,000 to find. Now, if I remember rightly, Anne, you will correct me, but that £10,000 is that 2 years or is that 1.5 years of saving, roughly?
2 years.
2 years of saving. So let's say it's going to take 6 years if we carried on the rate of saving we've got.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What we could do otherwise is we could look at schemes to apply for money. So there are schemes that you can apply for money for crime prevention and road safety.
Yeah.
But there is also the Government Works Loan Board, which is this is how a lot of government organisations fund their work. It's a fixed rate loan that we would pay back, and the chances of getting it are 100% basically, because it's done against our guaranteed income of the precept.
Mhm.
And when we'd have to look into it further, I'm no expert, but when you apply for it, you are when you apply, you see the rate, and that is the rate you get. It won't change, and it can be for hundreds of years, because in my experience, Withenwick, as an example, parish council are looking to take out a much bigger loan over something like a 30-40 year period to buy the pub.
All right.
To make it into a community pub. The reason I know this is because Withenwick Funding Panel are going to fund have been asked to fund the loan, and the parish council will merely pay the interest every year.
Right.
So if we can get a loan of £35,000 over a 10-year period, let's say, and it works out in our sums, we might not be able to save £4,000 a year. Might not be able to save £4,000 a year, but if we're paying £4,000 a year in loan repayments and we get it done in one go, I think there's a win-win. It might cost us a little bit more because of the interest, obviously, but if we want it doing and we know that speed is an issue, as much as the surveys didn't prove it to East Riding, we know that it proved it to us. We know it's an issue. I've seen plenty of people overtake me when I'm doing 20 on the Uxbridge Road.
Exactly.
So I think it's definitely we have to look at other funding sources and try and do it in one go. I don't want to particularly see it reduced or increased to 30, because if it's increased to 30, we may then lose some of our privileges of having it as a 20. As much as we would get the van, we may lose other bits that come with it being a 20. And we may then, the funding criteria might change if we then increase it. If, for example, the funding criteria says, well, you're not eligible because you've got a 20 zone, then yes, we can look to increase it to a 30 to try and tick that box for that 6-month period or whatever the funding criteria is.
Right. Okay.
That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay. Can we move on to Christine, please?
Right. Yeah. I'm in favour of the speed bumps, them little narrow ones, because from experience, I think they slow the traffic down more than the bigger bumps.
Yes, you're right.
I'm in favour of I'd rather have lots of them along that main road, because I think it really slows traffic down.
Okay. Is that are you finished now, Christine?
Yeah. Everything else, I don't want to alter the speed limit, because I think it's sending mixed messages. That if we alter that, I think people will be thinking, well, what they're doing.
Okay, Christine.
Yeah.
May I move on to Pauline, please?
Yeah, I think if we did change it to 30, you'd have to explain to the village why you were changing it, just so that you could do, because I think people would think, what are they doing? But I personally think, going from 30, they were saying from 40 to 30 to 20 is a big thing. I just think, why not from Hilltop Roundabout, just keep it 30. And then you're going down that narrow bridge at 30, and then you've got that bend, that should be 30.
Yeah.
It shouldn't go to 40 there, should it? Do you know what I mean? Just down the hill and that narrow bend. But I don't know whether, did he not say that, Steve? Did he not?
No.
One
of the problems is that is a rural road, and the typical rural road speed is 40.
Yes.
He said he was amazed that the 20 zone ever got approved.
Right.
One of the things that he talked about was being realistic for motorists. And if a motorist sees a straight road, asking him to do 20, it's ridiculous. A motorist will go as fast as he feels safe. It's psychological, the guy was telling me. And he was really surprised that it went from 40 to 20.
Yeah.
It could go from 40 to 30 to 20 and being a slow step. Just coming to that wall, he says, is impossible. But the wall will be there because that's the first point that the first speed bump is at both of the 20 signs.
Which is
Yeah.
what I'm in favour of, the speed bumps.
Yes.
Okay, can we, it would appear, yes, and I
So,
know.
I would
No,
now,
no.
now that we've all got a view, I would like your
Yeah.
permission for me to take the next step
Yes,
and take the report to Ian Sugden, who's the nominated individual that looks after this and would take this further with us, and to work with Tony Kirby on producing a detailed costing and a detailed plan, and come back to you at a next parish council meeting.
Well, I'll second that, Steve.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
fine by me.
Okay.
All right, so Jacob, are we going to leave everything for the time being, or will you investigate avenues of funding?
I can look at
before-
investigating avenues of funding. I think the easiest and quickest way will be the Government Works Loan Board, but I'll speak to some people and see if we can get some funding from elsewhere as well.
All right. So we'll do that, and we'll put it down for the next meeting, please.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Number 10, welcome pack. Has anybody got anything to chuck in here?
I've produced a welcome pack. Jacob doesn't like it. It's now with Pauline, who's rewording it and coming up with a. if you won't like it either.
Right. Okay.
I think the problem with this is not a problem. Sorry, that's maybe the wrong word. The discussion around this is, I have a different interpretation to what a welcome pack should contain than what Steve thinks it should contain, and probably what I've not seen Pauline's yet, but what Pauline's will do. And I think we need.
What about the cuckoo?
It's all right. I think we need. I think what would be useful after this meeting is if everybody can send a list of things they think should be in the welcome pack to Anne, and then Anne can collate that list. And then we can look, right, well, these are the most popular things, and these are the things, and then we can really get into the nitty-gritty of it, whilst Steve, myself, and Pauline rehash what we've started, and then we can just adjust it. Because, like, for myself, a welcome pack to me, if I was coming into this village as a new young family or whatever, I'm not going to be that concerned about the fact that the church is 900 years old and all the history of the village and where the name comes from. Yes, it's a little bit nice to know, but most people, if they're bothered about that kind of thing, will go away and research it. What I'm bothered about...
I think it should be kept as simple as possible.
Yeah, what I'm more bothered about is this is how to contact the parish council. This is a little bit about what they do. These are useful contact numbers. Almost a slightly more in-depth version of the first few pages of the Gazette. Because in the Gazette every month there's all the contact numbers and all the contact email addresses, etc. Yeah. Something about that, and then a little bit about the village. So the village shop does this, this, and this. The pub has this, this, and this. There's a school. So if people, and we can have it in the post office. So if people are looking at the village, thinking of moving in, there's a pack about the village. But then it's also given to the people that move in when we know they move in and get registered on the electoral register.
Right. Okay. So it would appear the consensus is that you guys go away, have a rethink, pass it out. We push ideas towards you, and then we'll revisit it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think if we send potentially, if we try and combine the three we've got, or send it out to the three we've done, and then we can sort of say, well, I like this bit from that one, and I like that bit from that one.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Is that all right, Pauline?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Is that all right? Is everybody okay with that?
I'm out, Pauline.
I thought, well, actually, to be fair, I really like yours. I do agree it was a bit lengthy. It was a bit lengthy. But, but I thought it has got everything in it. And then when I started looking at other parish councils, their welcome packs, it's pretty much what everybody does. So they are quite lengthy, but then would it put some people off reading them? Because like some people say they just get the Gazette and throw it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think mine became
You don't want them to do that. You want it sort of palatable, don't you? And just yeah.
I'll have a go.
All right. Okay.
All right. Busy the next 4 weeks.
Right, let's move on to number 11, land behind Village Hall. Does anybody know about this?
I was asked by a resident if the parish council or East Riding would clear the land behind the village hall. So the bits of brambles that are up against the fences and stuff, because it's infiltrating their gardens.
Okay.
And I've since discovered that it's owned by Mr. Harrison.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
So in the first instance, we would speak to Mr. Harrison and ask him to clear it.
Yeah.
If Mr. Harrison didn't clear it, we would write to East Riding and ask them to either clear it themselves or use whatever power they can to get Mr. Harrison to clear it. The problem is I don't think they will have any power because it is passable. It's just an inconvenience to the landowners. Failing that, if East Riding won't do anything and Mr. Harrison won't do anything, we get somebody to do it, bear the brunt of the cost, because the residents, one of the residents has said they will keep on top of it once it's down. They just can't do the initial cutting down. They can keep on top of it though.
Okay.
So we maybe pay somebody to get their shears out, cut it all down, dispose of it, and then the residents and even the village hall committee can keep on top of it with maybe Wawne Bloom or our handyman or whatever.
A lot of people in the village use that path, don't they?
Yes, they do. And at the moment, it is still passable. But the problem is that it's not the path part that's the issue. It's the issue of it encroaching on people's gardens.
Why don't we organise something for the whole village to muck in and have a go at it, if we can?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, we'd have to do it, probably be a couple of months because of obviously
COVID
restrictions.
Because of COVID, yeah. But I mean, I'd be quite happy to muck in there with a chainsaw or whatever. I think, you know, we could probably do it as a community spirited thing. I know COVID's a nuisance at the moment, but you know, we don't know in 2 or 3 months' time, do we?
Okay, so if Anne, have you heard anything back from Mr. Harrison?
No.
No. Have we written to East Riding yet?
No.
So I don't know what Steve or anybody else thinks, but I think we should first write to East Riding and see what they say. If they say no, then I'm not being red tape or anything, but I suggest we ask Anne to check with Anlica and our insurers about a community event and chopping down bushes and stuff and how we stand insurance-wise. And then if we're okay to do it, we then, in a couple of meetings' time, whenever that may be, we start to organise and put in place plans to do it as a community event.
Okay. Steve, can I have your views, please?
Yeah, that whole path was cleared 5 years ago by the lifestyle group. So we gave them money and they cleared it and put bulbs down there, and for 2 years it looked lovely. But then the lifestyle group disbanded and then it's just been abandoned. I think we'll need to contact the village hall committee as well to see if we can burn the stuff on their land at the back of the village hall. We're talking about the land at the side of the village hall.
Yes.
There's nowhere to drag this stuff to.
No, true.
On the
Very
village
true.
hall land.
Unless my feeling about that, sorry, I'll just to come in there. There is the start, albeit I need to double check, but there is the start of a compost heap with some branches at the recreation ground in one of the corners where we had some chopped down.
Yeah.
If we can load it into a trailer and have it dumped
That's what I was just going to say, Jacob.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I can get used to a flat back truck. That's what I'm saying. My husband at work, he's got a flat back truck. It could all just go in there and just go. So that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, good.
That's useful to know, isn't it, Steve? Somebody with a flat back truck.
And also, you could say about the social distancing down that path at the moment. There's a lot of people doing a lot more walking, and you are having to sort of dodge people down there, aren't you? So
Definitely, yeah.
Can I get your views, please, Christine?
I've no problem with it being cleared. No, that's fine. The only thing I can say is I had all the brambles behind my house and I went into the field and cut them all down myself. I could have done with the committee coming and doing it. Took me 2 years to get rid of it, and it wasn't my land.
No, very true, very true. All right, so we'll investigate that. We'll write to the council first and go from there. Do we want it put in on the agenda for the next meeting, please?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, number 12, correspondence, please, Anne.
Yeah, we've got email off a resident saying about the what is it? The footpath to Beverly and
Yeah, that's the one.
yeah, not what was it Steve was on about, but another resident. I passed it on to East Riding, and they're dealing with it.
Okay, dokie.
Is
Any
this-
more
is
correspondence?
just- Is that, sorry, is that the one where the land hasn't, the path hasn't had the stars put in, where
Yeah.
we moved the right of way? We moved the right of way, didn't we? We agreed the mover, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've wrote to the landowner, and asked the East Riding to clear it. So there's overgrown things,
Okay.
clear it. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so that's under control. Have we any more correspondence?
No.
No. Okay, dokie. Right, so shall we please move on to number 13? Councillors' reports, any items for future agenda? Andrew, I'll start with you.
No, I think we've covered things quite well. I think the speeding thing for me, as you probably all know, I'll keep bagging on about it. It's important to me because I just see so many idiots along this road here, you know, and I can just see a big accident happening and somebody getting killed or injured. It's just as bad when you go into the village. I think the mini roundabout will probably sort some of that. I don't think I've got anything else to add at the moment.
Okay. Right, Steve, how about you?
Had a thought, sorry, I'm old. Andrew just triggered a thought in my mind.
Go for it.
Rather than applying for 35,000 then, should we apply for 37, 38 and put some money in the bank in case we ever need to put a speed bump along Main Street?
Absolutely.
That's a brilliant idea, Steve.
That's a good
Build
idea.
it into the plan rather than
Yeah.
finding 2 years' time.
I knew I hadn't married you for a reason, Steve.
No, I think that's an excellent idea. I'm not being funny.
Brilliant.
Why don't we go for 40
Yeah.
if we can?
Yes.
Then we've got the extra.
We've got
there
a
if we
little
need
bit
it.
of extra just in case.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're
I
not
would,
going.
I would put a caveat on that. I wouldn't want us to get a loan for money that not when we're going to use it all, if we're paying interest on it.
Interest on it depends what the interest fees are these days.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
if Steve's guy comes back with a £35,000 price, we could apply for the whole £35,000, and if in 2 years we still need to put a speed bump in at 10 grand or whatever, we've got 10 grand saved.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Well, but this is something that we can look at next meeting. We
Yeah.
can chuck it around inside our heads, and once we've got the actual physical paperwork in front of us from Steve's guy, then we can go. We can think again, can't we, councillors?
Yeah.
Can I go on to Christine, please? Anything, Christine?
Something from Steve still, I think.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Apologies. Go
No,
for it,
it's okay.
Steve.
The other thing that I would like sometime on the agenda is veggies. The Wawne in Bloom team aren't maintaining their flower beds.
No.
We have to look at the end of that. Are we going to grass the beds over? Are we taking the ploughs out? Are we taking what are we doing? So I've taken a bit of a steal on this one, and I've written to a guy at East Riding with Anne's help, and we found the guy that looks after verges, and I'm going to get some prices to have them grassed over, have them maintained, or have all the verges taken out and wildflowers put in, like you see some of the villages around Pickering.
Yeah, some of the
that's a good
wildflowers are
idea.
beautiful as you go into Hull. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So I'm not going crazy. I keep moving my cat, who is going to come and say
She's
hello.
going to say hello. This is Chas.
Hello.
Hello, Chassie.
But the thing that the parish council need to look at, if Wawne in Bloom is ending, are we going to have a handyman? What are we going to do? I don't want to employ anybody. I just like
No, I know exactly where you're coming from. I know exactly where you're coming
just be
from.
able to pay as and when we need it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I really do.
Is the thing with the warning blip because of COVID-19, Steve, or do you just
No,
think the general lack of
They're
interest?
getting older and older.
Right.
They've lost a bit of spirit because Beverly aren't cutting the veggies, but hey, Beverly are not out
Right.
there. We all know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they've only really now got one fit and able-bodied lady, Mary
Yes.
Carrick,
yes.
and she can't. And
No,
even
she
if-
can't. I've seen her. I've spoken
Yeah.
to her quite a few times.
So we
Okay.
either employ someone, we buy in an outside firm once every 3 months, once every 6 months, or we just get rid of the flower beds.
Right. Okay.
Please have your
But
thoughts.
why don't the East Riding Council deal with the verges? Why is that then?
No, they do.
so-
Sorry. Oh.
I'll stop Steve saying something you shouldn't say. So the East Riding Council are cutting the verges at the moment because, as you're aware, there's a global pandemic and they've resourced a lot of their funding and staff elsewhere. So my dad did actually cut quite a few of the verges with my mum in and around the village once. We haven't done it again, but they're only cutting essential verges. So they'll only cut one where visibility is
Impaired.
reduced to 0 because of long grass. Once
Yeah.
this is all over and things return to a new level of normal, then hopefully they will come back. I will add the caveat that East Riding are working at about a £9 million loss at the moment because of COVID.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what
So
you're saying.
there will be some funding constraints when we come back out of this, unless it's retrospectively funded by central government.
Right. Okay. Can I chuck something in here for the next meeting? Steve has raised a very valid point, and how about we go away, we have a little think about what is achievable, what's sensible, and then we can bring it to the meeting next time. Are we agreed with this?
Yeah.
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 Is that okay, Steve? Is that okay?
Yeah. Superb. Okay.
All right, Christine.
Right, well, I've had several complaints about the grass verges, but that's been explained. And also about the grass growing out of all the edges, you know, where the curb edges.
Yeah.
They badly want treating as well, because it isn't
Okay.
helping with the state of the pavements, all the grass growing now.
No. Okay. So if we keep it for the next agenda, we have a jolly good think, and we come back with things that we think are sensible and achievable, bearing in mind that Beverly are not going to have money to throw around next
I
time.
personally would be loath to lose the flower beds because I do like them.
No, we all like them, but it's what's achievable.
Exactly.
Pauline, can I move on to you, please?
Yeah, I've got nothing more to add really. Yeah.
No, so if we have a think about what we think is achievable, and sensible, and come back with the next one.
If you ask people to look out the bit outside their own house, it's like, is that an insurance thing? Do you know? Is it? Can you ask people to do that?
I've got to be honest with you, I have no idea. And what's your view?
I have no idea.
I think they can cut it. They just don't have no obligation to do it. And I know that residents do cut the bits outside their houses, but if they don't do it, they don't do it. We could suggest they do it, maybe not ask, but we could suggest if you'd like to keep your village looking nice, then cut the grass verges outside your house.
Maybe something in the post office saying something like that. Yeah. Little sign in the post office saying, you know.
I suggest that we have a good thing.
I was going to say, a lot of people have got weeds growing on the boundary as well. What the boundary of their wall or fence onto the pavement? They're just leaving them.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
That's because people are lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, I think the best thing to do is we have a jolly good think about it, and we come back with some ideas the next meeting. Yeah, are we in agreement? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we're going to do, guys. Right. Okay. So I've gone Steve. I've gone Jacob. Christine. Have I done Christine for any future. Pauline, have I done you, dear?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm going to now close the meeting. It is 19:54 or 55, and the next meeting will be Thursday, the 6th of August, 2020.